Right now, somewhere in northern Tanzania, a man has finished his work for the day. It's mid-morning. He hunted for a couple of hours, came home, ate, and is now lying in the shade talking to his family. His workday is over. He is a member of the Hadza, one of the last hunter-gatherer groups left on Earth. And he lives almost exactly the way every human on this planet lived for 300,000 years. Which raises a question that most people never think to ask. If this is what the original human day looked like, what happened to us? In 1968, an anthropologist named Richard Lee published years of careful data on the Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. He had tracked their time down to the minute. His total came to roughly 15 hours of work per week, 2.5 hours a day. Hunting, gathering, cooking, every chore that kept them alive. Most of us hit that before lunch. Your ancestors did not have a boss. They did not pay rent. They did not have weekends because every day was already mostly a weekend. And here is the part that researchers keep coming back to, almost without exception. The people who live this way look happier than we do. So let's walk through their actual day. Sunrise. You wake to the sky getting lighter, the temperature shifting, the sounds of the camp waking around you. You sleep on a hide, laid over flattened grass, beside a small fire that someone fed through the night. Everything you own fits in a single bag. A digging stick, a bow, a few hides, maybe some beads from a daughter or a sister. There are roughly 25 to 30 people in your camp. You know every single one of them. You have known them your entire life. Your grandmother sleeps a few feet from your children. Nobody is on a clock. The first hour is talking. A study by anthropologist Polly Wiessner found that the Bushmen spend hours every day in casual conversation. But this is not gossip in the way we use that word. This conversation is the operating system of the camp. Who is sleeping with whom? Who took more than their share yesterday? Who told a good joke last week? Who has been quiet and might be sick? This is also the entire legal system. The way the Kung kept order was by talking about each other. If a man hoarded meat, people made jokes about him until he stopped. If a woman broke a promise, the word traveled to every camp within a day's walk. If you became genuinely unbearable, eventually no camp would have you. And that is the harshest punishment a hunter-gatherer can face. It almost never had to be used. In 1969, the anthropologist Richard Lee experienced this system firsthand. He had been living with the Kung for years. When Christmas came, he wanted to do something generous. He bought the biggest, fattest ox he could find and brought it back to camp. The Kung mocked the gift for weeks. They told Lee the ox was too skinny. The meat would be terrible. He had wasted everyone's time. Lee was confused. He had examined the animal carefully. It was excellent. So he finally asked an old man what was happening. The old man explained. When a Kung hunter brings home a large kill, the camp doesn't celebrate. They mock it. They say the kill is small, the meat is poor. The bigger the kill, the harder they mock. That is how they keep their hunters from thinking they are better than everyone else. They had been doing the same thing to Lee. He had brought a great gift, so they had to cut him down a size. In a Kung camp, no one is allowed to feel above anyone else. Every joke, every complaint, every whispered story is a small tool for keeping people equal. We built court systems and prisons. They handled it by talking to each other. Mid-morning, the men gather for the hunt. Hunting is dramatic. It is also deeply unreliable. Frank Marlowe, who studied the Hadza for decades, found that on any given day, most hunters return empty-handed. A successful kill happens maybe once every few days, sometimes less. A Hadza hunter might walk 20 miles, track a wounded animal for hours, lose it, and come home with nothing but a few small birds and a sore back. But when they connect hard. Their arrows are tipped with poison from the sap of a desert rose. The hunter shoots, then follows the animal for hours while the poison works. They have brought down everything from antelope to giraffe this way. And yet the hunters are not the ones who feed the camp. The women are. Among the Hadza, women provide more than half of the camp's calories. They go out in groups of 3 to 8 every morning. They climb, dig, and gather, returning with steady, reliable food that doesn't depend on luck. And the most productive gatherers in the camp are usually not the young mothers. They are the grandmothers. Women in their 50s and 60s bring back more food per day than mothers in their 20s. Many of them are still walking 5 to 10 miles well into their 70s. Anthropologists call this the grandmother hypothesis. It explains something that has puzzled biologists for years. Humans are the only primate species whose females live for decades past menopause. The theory is that grandmothers feeding their grandchildren made the whole species more successful. We didn't evolve past menopause by accident. We evolved it because grandmothers were so valuable that keeping them alive longer was worth it for everyone. The children come along. A Hadza 3-year-old plays with a small digging stick next to her mother while the real digging happens. By 6, she can find food on her own. By 10, she is contributing meaningfully to the family. By 8, a Hadza boy can be sent out alone with his bow and come home with a bird. That is simply what an 8-year-old does. Anthropologist David Lancy studied dozens of traditional communities and found that children spent most of their day in mixed-age play groups. Older children taught younger ones. Adults rarely interfered. A child who fell was usually helped up by another child. A child who had a question was usually answered by an older sibling. This is how human children learned for hundreds of thousands of years. Through watching, copying, and playing at the work happening right next to them. This is the school we actually evolved to attend. Midday. The first food returns to camp and is shared immediately. Sharing is not optional. It is the rule. If a Hadza man kills a large animal, he does not own that meat. He distributes it. He himself often receives one of the worst cuts. The camp gets the rest. Anthropologists believe this constant tracking of who gave what to whom, who skipped a turn, who stepped up when it mattered, is one of the forces that actually built the human brain. Social arithmetic of this complexity is something no other species has ever needed. Generosity is the savings account. The more you give, the more security you have built for yourself. Afternoon. After eating, the camp slows. Nobody works through the heat. People nap, sit in shade, repair arrows, weave grass into baskets, pick lice from each other's hair, which sounds unpleasant but takes about an hour and is mostly an excuse to be physically close to people you love. Conflicts happen. These people are human, not perfect. Affairs, jealousy, stolen tools, grudges that flare up. But the way conflicts end is different. In a culture where you can pack everything you own in 15 minutes and walk to the next camp, most disputes end by one party simply leaving for a few weeks. By the time they return, the heat has passed. Most of us cannot do that with a mortgage and a job waiting. Late afternoon, people visit nearby camps, a few miles walk to trade gossip, see relatives, arrange marriages. The same handful of camps stay connected this way, year after year, generation after generation. By adulthood, you personally know more than 100 people, every one of them by name and full history. The hunters return. Some days they bring a kill. Most days they don't. The women who gathered steadily all day quietly become the heroes of the evening whenever the hunters come back empty-handed, which is most of the time. Evening. Cooking begins. Roots roasted in coals. Meat boiling in pouches with hot stones. Fruit split open. Seeds chewed soft for the children. Then the meal, the whole camp, everyone together. They have done this every single night for 300,000 years. And when researchers who have lived with them write about it, they all describe the same thing. A quality of ease that is hard to name. Not wealth. Not comfort in the way we mean it. But time. Genuine time. A life that is not organized around future obligations, but around the present one, which is simply being here with these people on this evening, which is the same evening it has been for all of human history. This is not paradise. They get sick. They bury children. They lose people they love and grieve like anyone else. The mortality rate from violence in some hunter-gatherer groups is higher than in modern cities. There are real costs, but there's a kind of suffering they do not seem to know. The slow modern ache of working at something you don't believe in, to pay for a life that never quite arrives. Lying awake at night, comparing yourself to strangers you suspect are doing better than you. A sense that you're always behind on something without being quite sure what. In the late 1960s, an anthropologist surveying all of this evidence called early humans the original affluent society. He didn't mean they had things. They had almost nothing. He meant they had enough. And they had time. We made real trades to get where we are. Vaccines, antibiotics, refrigeration, indoor plumbing, much longer lives. Far fewer children dying before the age of 5, which in a hunter-gatherer camp used to claim roughly 4 out of every 10. These are genuine gains. But we also made trades we rarely talk about. We invented agriculture. We invented work that someone else owns. We invented the boss and the bill and the commute. And through all of it, we kept the bodies. The same nervous systems. The same need for sun and sleep and physical touch and real conversation and time spent doing genuinely nothing. We are still hunter-gatherers. Right now, somewhere in northern Tanzania, a man finished his work 2 hours ago. He is lying in the shade, and by most measures science has found, he is doing fine.